Hi, I am Lydia Carradine. Welcome back or welcome to my channel. As I mentioned in my intro, this is my soft relaunch of my space. I am operating under this ethos, melanated, hyphenated, convalescent, because I am melanated, I am hyphenated, and that I am a multi-hyphenate. I am a writer, an actress, an artist, very amateur ballet dancer, and a fitness instructor. Um, yeah, I live in LA. I'm pursuing a career in entertainment, and I'm also convalescent in that last June, I got COVID for the first time, despite being vaxxed and boosted and masking and barely going anywhere. And I thought I was recovering normally. And then about a month later, like 5 weeks later, I got a different strain. The first time was, a flu, some coughs, trouble breathing. I had to go get Paxlovid. And the second time it was nausea, dizziness, blurred vision. The migraines that I hadn't had for years came back and lasted several days at a time. It was not great. And it it wasn't fun. And then when I finally started testing negative, that lasted for about a week. And then a week later, I was positive again. And so I'm assuming that was a rebound case, but it might have been a new strain. I don't know. Last summer was a wild time for the virus. Miss Rona was doing the most. Um, and so that pretty much lasted until the last week of July of 2022. And after that, I experienced a lot of fatigue, PIMS. I had to learn a lot of new medical phrases, which is post-exertion malaise. So essentially, you can feel okay. And then if you do something normal, like go for a walk, go to the store for 5 minutes, then you will be exhausted like you have never been exhausted in your life. Like, not just like, oh, I'm tired. I wish I was just tired. It's like if you were in a place with high altitude that you hadn't been before, and you're already kind of maybe having shortness of breath or something, and you were also hungover and you decided to go for a run, and then you got hit by a truck. Like, just put all those things together and then multiply them by 28. It's just like my limbs were heavy. Um, and I really after last August, I sort of like kind of went off of a cliff with my symptoms because it wasn't just the exhaustion and the fatigue. The dizziness was pervasive. Um, the headaches were excruciating. I, would take a shower and then I'd have to lean against the wall so I didn't fall. And I really only had a couple good hours a day. And good is stretching it. They weren't great. And so that has been a lot to deal with physically. It's also affected all of the areas of my life because as an actor, that means I am not only too exhausted to be on set, it's dangerous for me to be on set because my immune system is a lot weaker than it already was. And I, it's affecting my memory and I'm brain fog. I had to get glasses because my eyes are not behaving the same way that they were before all of this happened. And so one of the most, I guess, consistent symptoms and outcomes of this has been I'm experiencing chronic fatigue syndrome. That's the easiest thing to diagnose because long COVID is still very new. And that is something that I could be dealing with for years. One of the reasons that I wanted to talk about this is because I, one, don't see a lot of people of color talking about this. And two, um, I've been seeing statistics that it's easier to be diagnosed with these maladies if you are not a person of color, specifically a Black woman. Um, they don't listen to us at the doctor. And before people get in my mentions, I'm speaking on my own experiences. I've been a Black woman my entire life. So please don't say, well, no, no. When I went to urgent care the first time I had COVID, they kept me there for over 2 hours because they were arguing about whether or not they should give me Paxlovid, even though I could not breathe. I'm not exaggerating or using hyperbole. I couldn't breathe. And they thought maybe that I didn't need it. And to be clear, and this is another thing that we know to be true because of statistics, articles, research, data, it's harder for Black people to get the medicine and the treatment that they need because we're not taking this seriously. And Paxlovid is not a drug that has any like fun effects. It doesn't get you high, doesn't put you to sleep. There's no reason that I would have been spending my day in urgent care for funsies to get a drug that I didn't need. So I'm just saying that, and I'm moving right along. So during this time, the fall was kind of the worst time of my symptoms manifesting, and I really wasn't able to work that much. I was in a writing fellowship at the time, and I thought I can handle this. It was virtual. We had some assignments during the week, but it was not it wasn't as easy as it should have been because everything cognitively, physically, sitting at my desk to be on a Zoom for 2 to 3 hours was incredibly draining and painful sometimes. So that was a really huge adjustment for me. I also have a mother with MS, and kind of right before everything started with me getting COVID the first time, I had been out of town taking care of her for 8 months, um, which was a whole other thing. And I was supposed to go back in September to help her again, and I couldn't because I could barely take care of myself. I also had to postpone, and I canceled my trip to go home for the holidays because people are wilding on these planes, and I knew that even if that wasn't the case, the act of traveling was going to wear me out in ways that I at that point I don't think I would have recovered well from that. So that's kind of been where I've had to cut back in all areas of my life. Close friends with birthdays, like I'm not going. I'm not working on set. There's some gigs that people have asked me to do, even remotely, that I know that the workload is not. We're not doing that. It's not happening. Not right now. Um, so that has been very challenging. It's also been hard for me as an extremely ambitious person to say no to things and be okay disappointing people. There's a book that I need to read called The Courage to Be Disliked that a couple of my friends have recommended because that's something that I've just at this point, I really need to take care of myself. And that's been difficult as a person who is in the process of examining, my work versus my sense of self-worth. I've been working on separating the two, and this has really propelled me into um, walking in that and having to say, okay, I can't do this job. I can't do this audition. Um, I let my casting profiles expire, and I was working with an agent to get a new agent. And I kind of put that relationship on hold because even doing a self tape was extremely difficult for me. And they were just taking so much time more than they should have because everything like I don't have the ability to rush anymore. And if I do, I get dizzy or I'm like just inordinately tired. And it wasn't serving me right now. So that's something that I also had to kind of put away for the time being. And it's made me rethink a lot of other things. Like I am a huge fan of Stephanie Perry and Adelia Borashade and Rashida Dow and all the women in the Black expat community. That's something that I have been thinking about, something that I was sort of sticking my toe in planning. And so now I have to rethink what that is going to look like for me, what countries are available to me where I can get back to the United States quickly, maybe not moving so far away. I'm thinking about the weight of moving and then like furniture and things and where is it accessible? Where is it accessible and friendly? Because the United States is not made for people with disabilities. Um, and so now I have to do an extra layer of research. Where can I go out of the country where me being a woman of color with a disability, where can I thrive? Um, where can I thrive and have healthcare? Where can I thrive and be safe? These are all things that I have to consider now. And so all of the things that have happened in the last 8 to 10 months have kind of forced me into adopting a soft life that I said I was into and that I had been thinking about. And so I want to be really clear when I say soft life or soft girl era, I do mean the way that the Nigerian influencers who originally coined this phrase meant it, as in doing the best things for you, doing things that bring you joy, finding simplicity. I am not using it to describe like a backdoor to hypergamy. That's not what we're doing. Um, I truly mean doing less, having a life of ease, and curating an environment that is really healthy for me. That's something that I don't have a choice about anymore because I have to choose everything that I do. Um, I just like I literally do not have the energy to be frivolous with my time or my activities. So that is sort of why I need to embrace this in a real way and not an aesthetic way. Um, and so it's also challenging because the entertainment industry not only doesn't reward rest and self-care and boundaries, but it really vilifies it, especially if you're a person in a marginalized group and you've been told and all the gatekeepers have been telling you you have to work twice as hard. Um, it's and even before the chronic fatigue syndrome, um, it was very much, if you say like, oh, I was oh my goodness, everyone's like this. If you say like I I worked this morning and then I had two auditions. I had to go like back home across town and then I went to my acting class and etc. Someone else is going to be like, well, I got up at 4 a.m. and I went to 3 auditions. Like, one, people are always going to try to outdo you. You can't, if you're tired, it's not valid because someone else is more tired. It's very much giving like America's Next Top Model when someone would be like, oh my gosh, like I twisted my ankle on this shoot. And Tyra would be like, well, when I was young, I had to get a perfect shot hanging off of a building that was on the fire. Like, girl, um, and people really, there's this idea that if you say no once, then they'll just like never call you again, or you're not serious, you're not hustling, you're not grinding. And now my answer is like, no, I'm not. I'm not hustling and grinding. I'm doing the work that I need to do and hoping that my merit speaks for me. This is not a meritocracy, but you know, I'm optimistic. So that is an area where I really have to have strong boundaries and hope for the best. And I also am working on with that, fighting against the strong Black woman stereotype from society and from people in my life who are used to me kind of doing all the things. And I can't be that for them anymore. And so that's been an adjustment for me as well, because that's been such a huge part of my personality. And like a lot of ingrained habits that I have to actively get out of. Um, and so I have been thinking a lot about like, why am I so ambitious? Part of it is me, but a lot of it I think has been put on me. And so I am struggling against having to do everything everywhere all at once. It's really hard for me to relax. And that's something that I'm trying to do. It's really difficult for me. It's truly difficult for my body to relax, but that's something that we're working on. I'm learning, I'm growing. My therapist is really earning her checks because it's a lot. And that is kind of what I'm doing. And so the channel now is going to be about how all of those things are coming up and interacting with each other and how I move through that. So I will be releasing more videos as I have the energy. If you have any suggestions, please leave comments below, and I will see how that see how they work into what I want to talk about and what you guys want to talk about. And I will link my board and my chair and my lights, etc. below. And I will see you all soon.